I manage my own self-esteem and health. I always have to sort of breathe in when I say that, you know. I manage my own self-esteem. Makes sense. Only now are we actually working out the carbon footprint of obesity. And it's obvious. Carbon footprint of obesity is much, much higher than the carbon footprint of being healthy, and the cost to public services of being healthy is obviously much lower than the cost of having an unhealthy society. So you see all these links and connections, they all circles within circles. I live within my own financial limits. Yeah, don't need to play on that point much further. The products I buy help local and international trade. You'll know what your product story is, and you'll know. And these debates about should I buy local or should I buy international will have evaporated to it doesn't matter as long as you're contributing towards creating 9 billion of those lifestyles. It doesn't matter if you buy from Ghana or Suffolk, as long as you're bringing real good. And at the moment, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to articulate what real good looks like. I use clean and renewable energy. Speaks for itself. Interesting, this is the only explicit mention to carbon. Sustainable development is a lot broader. I'm active in a vibrant community. Green Light Trust. Yeah. I talk with, not at people. Yeah. Very subtle, but an important thing. I, as a consultant, should be locked up. Because if I find a client who's a bit intimidated by sustainable development, I say, well, what you need is stakeholder consultation. And I charge them a massive bill for it. It's actually talking to people, yeah, and then listening. That's all it is. And we've made it, we've codified it, we've created a governance system and a mystique around talking to people because we've forgotten how to do it. I've found the right balance between technology, the Prius parked outside there, the windmill out there, simplicity, cycling here and not driving because it's really near, and stewardship, planting trees and looking after nature, and by default looking after the bees. And the moment you live my life, people say, what will save the world, technology or behaviour change? Well, it's both. Behaviour change will do what behaviour change is really good at doing, and technology will do what technology is really good at doing. And we're just beginning to see all that settle down now into what is the right solution. And the reason why I think genetically modified struggled, it was technology playing around with nature. It sort of crossed this undefined boundary at the time. Look after nature. We don't understand nature, so leave it alone. Yeah, but we need lots of technology to feed all these poor people and to drive cars with no energy output and that sort of stuff. GM sort of interfered with them both and created that tension. My leaders have courage. The whole world was uplifted when Obama got voted in because we had a brave politician again. But we're talking about community leaders, political leaders, local leaders. But at the moment, there seems to be not enough brave politicians making bold statements, doing bold things. And everybody wants it. I use much less stuff, but enjoy the same satisfaction from the lifestyle that stuff gives me. That's the Wee Man in the Eden Project, a huge statue made of all the electronic and electrical waste I would use in my lifestyles. It's about 5 tonnes per person in the UK at the moment. That's got to get down to at least a tonne, probably less when you start doing all the maths. So how do we get that feeling of comfort with that lifestyle, but using 1/5 of that pile of derelict electronic stuff? Perhaps the most complicated, and it's really easy to say, all we need is a new economic system. But what do we mean by that? Economic system at the moment, the KPI is growth. You can't grow an economy based on a finite amount of resources. That just doesn't stack up. But it's more complicated than that. This is a really, really good example. The reason why the rainforests are being destroyed is really simple. It's turning that rainforest into that, and leaving it, rather than leaving it like that, you make more money by turning your rainforest into garden benches. You make more money by turning your rainforest into palm oil. How do you make money from leaving that rainforest untouched? That's the issue. That rainforest is worth more dead than alive. And a really, really good example is the Congo. 70% of water in South Africa, be it for making beer, making Coca-Cola, feeding the citizens and putting into swimming pools, basic amenities, comes from the Congo. South Africa doesn't pay the Congo for that utility. So when the Congo convert their rainforest into palm oil, South Africa picks up the phone and says, hello, Mr. Congo President, can you stop doing that? We're really thirsty down here. They say, absolutely, that would be $1 million a hectare, please. And we don't know how to do that at the moment. And that's the new economics. How do we give bees an economic value so that the supermarkets' chief executives are actually panicking with the statistics on bees at the moment, saying, "Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah, here's £500,000, plant some hedges, bless you." Yeah? How do they actually value these bees to the same way as they value the cash and the stock in their warehouse? And I think it's really interesting for all of us in our 20th anniversary, which seems to be really strange, how rainforests have always become iconic, have always been iconic, as, you know, like Save the World. And in the last 2 years, many of you would have seen how rainforests now have come back central to the debate. This is a graph of the major strategy on how we're going to stop climate change. And one of these 7 or 8 strategies is stopping deforestation. Not to do with ecology, not to do with all the reasons why perhaps we liked rainforests 20 years ago, but because of carbon. But of course they're recognising all those other benefits matter just as much as carbon. And I think what we're seeing with Greenlight Trust and what we're seeing with a lot of the business people is this maturing of the narrative. So what do we need to do? I think we need to find a better narrative, which is sort of what I'm trying to do in my own writing and my own thinking. We need a far more positive tone of voice. If Jonathan Pollitt was here, he would tell you how bad things are and how rubbish we are. That's like the coach of a school football team saying, "You're all rubbish and you're all going to lose." Yeah? End product is you lose. Yeah? Make it practical, can do, less ideological. Make it lifestyle centric. That's what we're talking about. We sometimes talk about the planet too much. It's about preserving lifestyles. It's from less bad to what is your contribution? What is your contribution towards accelerating the pace of change to having 9 billion sustainable lifestyles by 2050, whatever those lifestyles look like? What can you do? Ask yourself this question. If my product could talk about its contribution towards making 9 billion fab lives possible by 2050, what would it say? Not just your housekeeping, that matters, but your core product, be you running Suffolk Council or making toilet seats. Are you making it easier to achieve that goal, putting that hypothetical man on the moon? Or are you accidentally holding back yourself and other people from achieving it? That's where the debate's going. Product-centric, not housekeeping anymore, but a contribution towards this ultimate vision. Why Greenlight Trust? This is my last slide. First, the Greenlight Trust get forest and nature. They get country, I said county there, actually the county as well, and country, and urban. Foundry, real interesting balance of the best cutting edge technology outside, but also real basics. So they're finding that middle ground, which we need to find. You always leave, it's really annoying here, you always leave feeling great. Yeah? You know, they've got this happiness thing sort of sus. They don't know how, they need to unpick it, but they've really got that one right, yeah? And they also sort of got this leadership and empowerment thing right. So actually, of all the places I've visited around the world, this building and the people in this building are closest to those 10 principles than I've honestly found anywhere else in the world.